This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. Last few episodes have been received really well, so once again thank you very much for tuning in. If you've missed any, my chat with Paul Letters from Not Your Average England Fan and my chat with Tango, they can be found at threelionspodcast.com or your usual podcast provider, plus all the previous ones too. And if you enjoy the chats with fellow England fans, then I reckon this one will be right up your street. That conversation is coming very soon. But first, since the last episode, it would seem the vast majority of us have now received a credit note and refund from UEFA for our Euros tickets. Just got to keep our fingers crossed for the England Supporters Travel Club ballot now. And speaking of tickets, there is the exciting possibility of being allowed access to both the pre-Euro friendlies against Austria and Romania at Middlesbrough for Travel Club members only. I think the FA and the Travel Club are just waiting for official confirmation and the government guidelines, I guess, as to where they go forward with that one. Also worth mentioning, should the games go ahead, our Block 109 are looking at running coaches from London who pick up points Watford, Milton Keynes, Northampton and Leicester. If you want more details, fancy getting on a coach with those guys, drop them a line on social media. And speaking of Block 109, you may have seen a recent venture by them, and I'm hoping to speak a little more about it with them soon. Now let's talk Lionesses for a moment. They've had their qualifying draw made for the 2023 World Cup. They'll face Austria, Northern Ireland, North Macedonia, Latvia and Luxembourg. And the first of these games will take place in September this year. Whilst the actual World Cup tournament takes place in Australia and New Zealand in July 2023. Oh, tempting, that one. Actually, something I forgot to mention recently was the draw for Team GB for the Olympics later in the year, which that in itself is still a little bit uncertain. So they've made the draw and they will find out who the girls of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland will face. They will be guided there by current England interim manager Hager Risa. Now, this draw was made on the 21st of April, so a little while ago. Team GB, they will face hosts Japan, Canada and Chile. And the first game will be against Chile on the 21st of July in Sapporo, a venue England fans will have very happy memories of. Now, there is the old saying, what goes on an England away trip should stay on an England away trip. I think I may have broken that code of conduct here, but I think you're going to enjoy this one. Now, if you tuned into the recent episode about Kazakhstan, you may remember Les Gasson saying this.
About an hour later, another group of lads we knew from Doncaster turned up. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Doncaster lads. From the Stag pub, which is no longer, I think, in Doncaster.
Right.
There's a chap, quite notorious, great chap, ex-army, Bisto. I don't know what his first name is, but he's a bit notorious. Put it this way, you know when Bisto's in town.
Gotcha.
The first time I met him was in Albania, and should we say, we knew intimately what Bisto was like. And when we was in Bratislava on that wet, infamous match, we was in a bar and there's a bit of a commotion at the door. And someone come in and says, the security aren't letting these lads in because one of them's just streaked across the road, done a handstand. We said, "Oh well, Bisto's in town then." So that's Bisto, and so
Need
they
to get
turned up.
Bisto on for a chat.
Oh yeah, oh, crikey! You'd never get him off. He's fantastic. He's the ultimate entertainment. He really is good. So yeah, if you could ever get in touch with him from Doncaster, he's a great chap, wonderful chap.
So we heard from Les there, who kind of put me on the trail of Bisto. And I've done a bit of digging and I've managed to track him down. So I'd like to welcome to the Three Lions podcast, Leeds and England fan Paul Bristow, although probably more well-known to others as Bisto from Donny. Is that right, Bisto?
Yeah, sounds about right, mate, yeah.
Welcome along, you all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you, mate.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. You appear to be quite a face on the England scene, by all accounts.
I just like to make people happy, mate. You know what I mean? I just like to have a laugh,
right?
Like we all do, really.
Yeah, and we need it at the moment, don't we?
Yeah. It's pretty grim at times, like, but it don't matter to us up north because they always say it's grim up here, but we get on with it.
And that's right. You're from Doncaster, aren't you?
Yeah, Donny.
So how long have you been following England then?
My first game was Argentina in St Etienne in '98.
Right.
And it started off like, say, me and my mates and missus, like, say, we were in a pub in Donny at White Bear, and it was when Anderton, sick note, scored against Colombia. And, you know, euphoria and everything that were going on in pubs and all that. And I thought, I want a piece of this. And me and my mate just looked at each other. I says, look, I've got a week off coming. I finish nights on Sunday. Do you want to go? And we looked at each other. Yeah. So I went straight from work. I worked in a care home then. We hired a car. We drove to Dover. And we just went over there and experienced it for a few days. And it were amazing. It proper got me hooked on first one. It was just brilliant.
How did you manage to get a ticket then?
It was a bit of a weird one. We were trying all day and all that, and there were none about. And there were these, I'd say there were school kids who were about 14, 15, and they were stood in the street. And there were a few lads around them and all that. And this young lad, he's got a ticket in his hand. So anyway, I don't know what made me do it. So I've gone up and I've snatched the ticket out of his hand. And him and his mate have looked at me and I went, no, it's all right in your best like pidgin French. I went, Is this ticket for sale? And he went, oui, monsieur. I says, how much? And he went, francs. And it were about 3,000 francs. I think it were about 300, 350 quid. Right. And I went, merci beaucoup. And they must have thought I was going to run off with it. So I've counted it out. And then I've given them a couple extra. And I went, merci beaucoup, thank you. I was just so happy. I couldn't believe it. Because they were like they were just like gold dust, and I was lucky enough to got one. So I've got a ticket, and that's me and my mate. Like he managed to get one, and then we've just gone on and, like say, just had a great day.
Just unfortunate about the result, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I'll be honest. We'll get to that in a bit because there's loads to tell you about that game. I mean, we had a great day all day. We even had a game of football with Arges in St Etienne Square, and there were no bother, no really, and. Yeah. It always stuck in my mind from earlier on at World Cup. There were a French police officer called Daniel Nivelle, and I'll never forget his name. And he got badly injured by some German hooligans. Well, the government that day, they just set up a fund for him. So I've gone up to these gendarmes and says, excuse me, like, who's in charge? All lads that were out with us, there were only me and my mate that knew each other, but you just got talking to people where you're from, and all usual stories that you tell each other. And I says, look, let's have a whip round. And we got about 200 or 300 quid. So this gendarme, like I says, that's to put in Daniel Nivelle's kitty. And, they were so grateful. And that really, I thought it was just a nice touch.
That is a really nice touch. That's exactly the sort of thing that England fans, especially at the time, needed to be sort of seen and heard doing, really, shouldn't it?
It should. And, yeah, we're not all bad. You get good and bad on a night out on Friday, Saturday around town. So we'd had a great time with all these Arges. We all had a cuddle, had a beer and all that. And then they went back to their pubs. We went back to ours. And excitement were building inside me all day and all that. So anyway, this bloke comes on and he went, "All right, lads, you all right?" "Yeah, mate. Do you want to drink?" "No, you're all right." He says, "What about all them Arges over there?" Yeah, I've been playing football with him, mate. And they were like, 3 or 4 of us, like, say, chatting to this bloke, and he says, "Listen, lads," he says, "how long you been here?" sort of thing. He says, oh, most afternoon. He says, look, he says, I'll pay for your beers and all that. He says, if you go over and sort of like kick it off with Arj. And I'm like,
no.
What? Yeah, honestly, mate. And, it might sound unreal, but there'll be other people listening to this story and they'll have had it done to them or other parts around the world off these reporters. So anyway, I says, what? He says, yeah, I says, who do you work for? He says, oh, I'm independent. He says, I'll just get pictures and send to papers. So anyway, I just got really, really angry. So I've cracked him, like. My mate's got hold of his camera, smashed his camera up and all that, telling him to, like, do one.
Yeah.
Who's walked round the corner? These gendarmes, aren't they?
Oh,
so they've come, you couldn't write it, mate, like a film. So they says, English, why you do that? And then why you and your friends all cause trouble now to this man? And I says, he's not. I says, you've seen us playing football with Argentinians. He says, yeah. I says, he's a reporting English press. He wants to pay us money to go and cause trouble and fight so we can get pictures for newspapers. And they went, oh, we understand. So anyway, they carted him off.
Oh, good.
That was the end of him. Yeah, it was brilliant, mate, because it could have gone proper tits up, really, couldn't it? We all press that had gone on from Marseille and all that Tunisia game. But we're not here to talk about all that rubbish. We're here to talk about happy stuff.
No, absolutely. Yeah, we'll talk about the good times. You kind of got involved then back in 98 for that St Etienne game.
Yeah.
And, I remember watching that. But, I mean, Michael Owen is great goal and then there was some disallowed ones in there as well. Whereabouts were you in the ground?
Right. This is it. I'll take it on from here, mate. So I've got this ticket and, you've made your way to the ground and all that. And you can see the bright lights. It were, honestly, mate, even though we lost, it's just like a dream. It's amazing. So I've got my ticket. So I'm gone to the correct gate, gone through turnstile. So I walking up and just imagine, right, England are lined up in white kit. You can see the bright green grass, all the bright lights, the atmosphere. It's absolutely amazing. Honestly, mate, I started crying. And guess where I was?
Go on.
On my own. Behind the goal where Michael Owen scored, in middle of Arges on my own. It didn't matter. And I tell you what, the Arges, they sung their national anthem and all that. And I thought, nah, I'm having this, mate. So I've got my shirt off and I stood up and I saw God Save Our Gracious Queen on my own. And them Arges were absolutely brilliant. They were having photos with me, videos, pictures and all that. So then kicked off. Then Simone's took that dive. They've scored. They're all giving it. I says, bet it first couple of minutes and last one, mate. So as it's going on, and then when Michael Owen scored that goal, Jesus.
What a place to be on the.
Oh yeah, you couldn't have scripted it. It was like I was meant to be there for a film. And the Argentinians around me, honestly, mate, it was just amazing. Everything about that day were brilliant. And then we've gone 2-1 up. And then they've equalised. And that would be honest, when I seen it on telly, because what people don't realise, when you're actually at the game, you only see it once.
Yeah.
When you're on telly, you get 5 or 6 replays.
Mm-hmm.
So we've gone in. Anyway, we're having banter. They were bringing me beers and all that. I'm just chatting. We've gone down the end. Sol Campbell scored. So I'm facing pitch. I've turned to my left and I'm shouting to him, "You're not singing now, are you? You're not singing now." And this Argentinian, cool as a cucumber, he tapped me on the shoulder and he went, "English, look." What? Oh. And then we've got about 2 defenders and 7 attackers and all that. And, you just couldn't write it. It was such a fantastic time. I know it should have, but, the way the day went, everything from finishing work to driving down to getting a ticket to having a load of drinks to meeting new people, making new friends. The result wasn't the most important thing, It was just being in that great company and, on Arges and they all give me a cuddle at end of game and all that.
Start of a good journey.
Yeah, amazing journey and amazing people I've met.
So moving on then, I mean, Les, he mentioned that he saw you in Bratislava or there was some commotion in a bar in Bratislava where you weren't in because someone was streaking outside.
Yeah, I think that'll be me, mate. Yeah, no, I shouldn't really say because but I don't know. Some of the mates they'll say to bloody hell, you've been on piss for 2 hours and I can't believe you've still got your clothes on. Well, that's like a red rag to a bull. I mean, I'm too old now, but yeah, I just used to rag off. I used to fold my clothes up and leave them nice and neat. And then I'd just go off, find a wall and do upside down press ups on my fingertips, all that, or you know, just anything, to make people laugh, mate. Yeah, it don't cost out. To my dad always said in life, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. Do you know what I mean? And I just try to put a smile on everyone's face.
Yeah. Go on then. So take us through some highlights of yours. I know you've got some things written down there.
Yeah. Well, we went to Ukraine. You know, when we went to Ukraine,
was this the one we lost?
Yeah. It was the only qualifier that we lost that year. That qualifying campaign. So started off say me and lads that I go with Scary, Salty, like my stepdad from Stag, he was landlord at Stag and he treated me like his son. He was great to me. Scary and Salty, they always looked after me, everyone, because believe you me, I needed it in some places. So anyway, we're flown, I think it was from Manchester to Paris, and the flights were really rushed and we only just got us connection. So we've ended up getting to Ukraine. We got told there was a thunderstorm or something, and we had to land at a military airbase.
Ah, I've heard this story before, and I didn't know you were on this. Go on, tell us more.
Yeah. So, because of a thunderstorm in Kiev. So anyway, we've landed at this airbase and all that. And you get off, so we've got off to stretch his legs and have a fag. And all of a sudden, the sound a bottle makes when it opens. I thought that's about that. So anyway, we found this bar in this hangar, lads. Yeah. So anyway, my mates have come and then everybody started piling in. So I ordered, a large gin and tonic for Dad, 3 vodka and cokes for me, Salty and Scary, large ones. I think it comes to about £1.80.
Was this a little bar that some woman just opened up for you?
Yes, she just opened up this bar. It was like in an hangar. So anyway, we had a few in there because obviously you had to let who walks in? Pilot off at plane, and he had a drink. So, well, it was just so surreal. And anyway, this says, right, we're going to be boarding in half an hour. And you get that feeling, everyone looked and went, can we not just stay here for 4 days? Everyone from all over. So he gets on plane. So we gets to, I think, where was it now? We're waiting to board. And who walked past? You're all in your little groups and all that and chatting your shit that you do and all that. Well, there must have been some Chelsea fans there and all that because I didn't recognise him. Who walked through airport? Shevchenko.
Yeah. And
there were a load of lads and they all started singing. And no trouble, it's that banter that you're going to get, aren't you?
Yes.
And they all started singing, Chelsea Reject, hello. Next thing you know, all riot coppers have steamed into airport and all that. And there were nothing. And that's as much as what it was.
Right.
When we've all got into Kiev and you're in your hotel, next thing you know, there's been a riot at Kiev airport, and it just shows England fans shouting, and then it pans over riot police running in, and that's all it was. There weren't no trouble at all whatsoever. It were hilarious to see what they put on there, but because you were actually there and what went off.
It's just normal football banter.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, it's a shame that riot police are even on standby for something like that, but the fact that they actually move in just because there's been a little bit of banter and cheering.
They'd probably just heard a load of noise from another room and come through because they hadn't actually seen the shouting. They'd come through into it and probably just left it. But
and all because of their golden boy.
Yeah, Shevchenko. Yeah. Another thing that I've got wrote down, me and Scary, we were in the same room. And, just to tell you, we were in the same clothes for all 4 days in Ukraine.
Oh, lovely.
They lost us bags at Paris, didn't they?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So anyway, I've gone out about midnight, it was, to see if somewhere were open, get some cigs. And anyway, there's this woman in a cart and selling flowers and sold beer and fags, these little lean-tos and all that. So anyway, I got talking to this woman, like I say, I bought a load of fags and it was cheap enough, and I thought, I'll have a beer and all that. And I said to old lady who was selling flowers, I says, how much? And she come up with whatever they were. They were next to nothing. So I bought the whole lot out of a shopping trolley. And then I give them her all back. And I give one to the lady who was serving me beers. I went, God bless you. You know, she's always trying to make a living.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I started one. Yeah, I hope so. So I started wandering back. And then you see bright lights of a pub, don't you? Yeah, it's always good, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've ended up going in this pub, just chatting to lads from all over, because I get giddy as hell. And, you know, we're all telling tales and all this and all that. And he says, oh, what you do? And I say, I'm a care assistant. He went, you what? You know, because I used to look after elderly and mentally infirm people, dementia and learning difficulties. I loved it. It was a great job. Very rewarding. Very rewarding. So anyway, like, I'd been chatting all this and all that. Anyway, the lights coming up, and I can remember, mate, I was proper trolleyed, and I said, look, I've got to go, lads, it's great talking to you. I've got to go back to the hotel. And obviously I'd lost all sense of time scale. So anyway, I've gone to walk out door, and this bouncer, he's grabbed hold of me. He's marched me back in and sat me down. I went, no, I'm good. Anyway, I must have tried half a dozen times. And then I've sneaked out round back. I've come round front, who's there waiting for me? And I didn't realise he weren't being horrible to me. He was looking after me because I could hardly stand up. So he was keeping me somewhere where everyone could see me. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And then next thing you know, police have turned up and he's pointed to me. And I'm thinking, oh, God, not again. What's this for? So coppers have put me in riot van, passport, all that. Anyway, and they've given me it all back. So they've been driving around for ages and I'm thinking, oh, my God, what's happened? You know, what have I done, or am I getting locked up or anything like that? And it was like a miracle. They pulled up and I thought, I know that place. It's my hotel. So it stopped. So I've opened side door, done a runner, thinking like, say, I'm getting away from them. Oh, no, I've gone in hotel. Manager's there. He's waved at police. I'm thinking like I've done great escape and all that. Mr. Bristow, they phoned up about you. Wasn't that kind of the police to bring you home back to your hotel? And we're like, what? I'll tell you what, it couldn't get any better. I mean, my mates weren't happy because they'd been like, say, looking, phoning up hospitals and, you know, or police stations and all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then they bumped into some lads I'd been talking to later on. And he says, oh, we've been talking to a little kid from Donny. He went, is he small and bald and bolts tits off you? He went, yeah, that's him. And they went, oh, yeah, really? He says, yeah, coppers took him back to the hotel. He went, he hadn't done all, has he? He says, no, they were just looking after him. They were great. They were absolutely brilliant, mate.
See, that's a great contrast between, like, see, the riot police that have sort of greeted you and then the police there that have helped you out.
Yeah, it's... and they got their own back on me because I was mortal. So anyway, I'd gone back. I'm in bed. And then they've rung me up. They went, Bisto, where are you? Where are you? Because you do. You might not believe it, but you do. Everyone that's listening to this will have done it. You just lose all sense of time.
Yeah. And
so I've woke up, my phone's ringing. Well, where you were on his way to airport. All right. I'm coming. So I didn't have notes to pack. So I've got my clothes on. I've run down. Who sat in hotel lobby at bar laughing the tits off at me as I run past to go outside? Dad, scary and salty. So, you know what I mean? They've just done it to wind me up. They went, listen, you can't keep going missing. So, you know, that was just a little tale of, you know, what happened at Ukraine. It was great.
Marvellous.
I'll go to this one because this really means a lot to me. We're at England-Sweden in 2006 in Cologne.
The World Cup.
Yeah, and, you know, them Germans, they were absolutely amazing people. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was a good World Cup, that one.
I mean, I went out a week before first game and I were out till we got knocked out. Yeah, it was just great. So anyway, on the day of that game, a lot of my mates that we went with, there were about a dozen of us. They were all members and all that. So I always used to get my tickets on black market or, you know. So anyway, we've gone into this like gas tax, like a rest station, a petrol station sort of thing, restaurant. And my mate Salty goes in with me and he says, right, has anyone got any tickets for sale today? This bloke puts his hand up. So we've gone over in corner and all that. Says, how much is it, mate? He says, it's €500. I says, all right. So I gave €500. Again, excited and all that. been on Lash all day. Everyone's gone off to where they're going grounds and all that. So I've gone through my gate. Jesus, VIP section, wasn't it? I'm not going to say who it was. It was someone. He's not famous from a football club. His missus couldn't go.
Oh right.
You know what I mean? So yeah. So I'm in there. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. There's all the photos I've got from there, like, you know, but two that stand out to me. Colleen Rooney, like, so, you know, she sat up there with Wags and all. I've gone up and just sat down next to her and went, "You all right, Colleen? Do you mind if I talk to you and all that?" I just had a conversation about her, you know, with her about everything and all that. I says, "Oh, I'm Bisto from Donny," and all that sort of stuff. And anyway, after we've had a chat and all that, and bear in mind, I've just got shorts on and flag and pints and all that. And she was lovely. She had time for everyone. I said, "Please, may I have a photograph took with you?" So a mate took a photograph. I went, "Good luck in all you're doing, life, love." You know, and I've seen Martin Tyler, Gianluca Vialli, Paul Robinson's mum and dad and all that, you know, it were amazing. So I'm just stood there near me seat and I'm just taking atmosphere. I'm stood looking at all fans, all the colours. You can smell the grass, everything. And this woman taps me on the shoulder. She says, "Hiya." I says, "Hiya, love, you all right?" She says, "Yeah." She goes, "Have you come out for a game, have you?" And I says, "No, love." I says, "I come out about a week before the first game and I'm here till we get knocked out." She says, "Oh, that's lovely. That's dedication." And I went, "I'll tell you what dedication is." I says, "Look, he might not be best footballer in the world." I said, "But we absolutely love him." I said, "He's David Beckham." I said, because, and everyone will tell you this, at the end of every game, he always came over to clap you. Yep. He appreciates you taking time off work, spending your own money, not getting out given, having to make your way by hook or by crook to get into a game, paying whatever and all that. I said, "I tell you what, love." I said, that's why we love him. I said, "He's been brought up right, him." I said, "He's absolutely been brought up right, and that's why we love him." I said, "He's not best footballer in the world. Sometimes he's a bit of a one-trick pony." She goes, "But his manners and like as a human being, he's absolutely great. He's been brought up right." She goes, "Oh, that's lovely, that." She says,
I know what you're going to say, I think. Go on.
She says, "Do you know who I am?" And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, flipping it. I'm VIP area. I got out of it straight away. I says, "I'm sorry, love, I don't watch telly or soaps or out like that," because I thought she might have been a soap actress. She says, "No." She goes, "I'm David Beckham's mum.
Oh,
and this is his sister, Joanne." I went, "Oh, Jesus." I said, "Look, I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time." She goes, "No." She goes, "It was really lovely to hear that story." I says, "But I mean it, love, honestly." I says, "I don't suppose I can be cheeky, can I?" And says, "No." I says, "Please, may I have a photograph took with you?" And I've got a photograph with me in middle with Mrs. Beckham and Joanne, his sister, with my arms out and like saying no shirt on or not. And it's just them things that you can't buy. Do you know what I mean? You can have all the money in the world and whatever. It's all about experiences and memories.
Yeah.
It's, and then...
See, that World Cup, well, it was kind of highlighted because of the Wags, wasn't it? Like, it was all over the papers. It was all over the news. I mean, I came back a bit during that World Cup and you could see it all on the TV. But you've obviously experienced it being in with them. And they're just human beings, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the person that took the photograph, she were in Girls Aloud. Well, I didn't know. So I've gone up to her. I said, "Excuse me, love. Please, can you take a photograph of me and Mrs. Beckham and Joanne?" And she's like, "Yeah, all right." Because when I gone over to her, she thought I was going to want to chat to her. Yeah. So I've given my phone. Anyway, come down, took photograph. Thanks very much, Mrs. Beckett. And she goes, "I promise you, I'll tell David that story." You know, and how she did. So I've gone to get my phone back. So she gives me the phone back and she's smiling. I went, "Thanks a lot, love. You're all right." So I'm then down. And guess, just before I started talking to Ray Winston, right, because he was sat behind me, this bloke come up, this Cockney lad, and he went, "Hey, Donny." He said, "Did you see all that was?" I said, "I know. I think Mrs. Beckham, like say, Beckham's mum and sister." He went, "No, Beardo took photo." I went, "No." He says, "He went here out of Girls Aloud." I'm like nearly 40 years old. Why am I interested in girl bands? Do you know what I mean? Just lots of little things like that. And then, you know, we had a good laugh with Ray Winston. And he's exactly like he says, you know, I mean, yeah, I always look back on that game with fondness and all that.
Oh, great one. Oh.
And, you know, I'm telling all these stories, but there'll be 1 million England fans, and we are the best supported country in the world. There's no doubt about it. We turn up everywhere in all little L.O.s and all that. And just a little one I want to tell you. Me and my mate John Dilly, one's from Ilkeston, one's from Bournemouth. We went to France, and anyway, we got tear gas before the game, got tear gas during it. Anyway, so we come out halfway through. So
when was this? World Cup or?
No, not in World Cup. No, this is just another night game in another year. Do you know?
Right.
It's just done about meeting people, right time, right place. So it's about 1 o'clock in the morning in Paris. We're in this cafe. There's about 10 people in. And we just sat down talking about, why do we have to go to the game? But you do. You know, you go to the game and sometimes, Les has said it as well, like, them 90 minutes are absolutely appalling.
Yeah.
But you do it because you're English and you love it.
Yes.
So we're sat in this cafe on a dreary night in Paris, me and my mate. This bloke walks in, and he were a huge fella. He were a big unit. And my mate went, oh, my God, it's him. I'm like, oh. He went, David Soul from Starsky and Hutch.
Right.
At 1:30 in the morning in Paris. So anyway, he sits down. I says, oh, David, I says, is there any chance we could sit down and have a chat with you? So we're talking to him and all that. And I says, so do you still live in Swiss Cottage then in London and all that? He went, yeah. And bear in mind, I don't look like one or right intelligent. I said, are you still a thespian? And he went, yeah, still do a bit of that. And I went, yeah, still go to Wimbledon then and live in Swiss Cottage. And he went, are you a stalker? I went, no, mate, if something just interests me and it just sticks in my head and all that, it's just another little encounter. And I said, do you ever speak to Paul, Paul Michael Glazier? And he went, we probably speak once every couple of years because, his lives have took different paths and all that. And I says, whatever happened to the car? Starsky and Hutch, that red and white stripe.
Yes.
And he went, we've often spoken about that. We don't know. He said it might be in Farmer's Shed or something in a field somewhere in America, but that was just another little one that just meeting David Soul at 1:30 on like Wednesday morning or something.
Then you'd never get that through Follow England. You wouldn't get that.
No, you won't. It's open. So many little doors. And with people that are going, they're all a great set of lads. There's no trouble causers amongst us. If it kicks off, you're going to protect yourself. But there's, no trouble. And the amount of times that we've used as attitudes in pubs and to talk to people and buy them drinks, and that were another one. In Ukraine, I'll go back to that one. So I was split up. And anyway, I've found a bar to drink in, so I've sat down there, pint of lager and large vodka and coke. So I had a couple of them, and I was just going to make my way back to the hotel. And I said, excuse me, can I have Bill? And she goes, oh, are you English? Yeah, love, yeah, come over for a game with my mates. She goes, oh, it don't matter. She goes, no bill. She goes, and I turned around, she goes, they paid your bill. And there were probably about 8 or 10 Ukrainian kids, students and all that.
Yeah.
And one of them had been one of our barmen earlier on in the day, do you know what I mean? And they were all saying, so I've gone on, but he didn't let on that he could speak English, which, is a good thing. And he says, he says, a lot of you English. He says, you've been very respectful. Because the thing that I always did whenever I went to a country, the first bar you go in, what in your language, what is please and thank you.
Yeah, simple things like that, yeah.
And they can see you making effort. And sometimes it's great. In Munich when we won 5-1.
Yeah.
So I'm there, young kid. And he reminded me of my first game. He was so excited, like getting the ticket for the game and all that. And I says, and Schulligans, he knocks 5 beer better. Because I lived in Germany when I was in the army for a few years, and you pick up a bit of lingo.
Yeah.
And he went, Jesus, mate. He says, that were great, that. I says, what? He says, what you just said. I said, oh, I just ordered another 2 beer, please. He says, oh, wow. He says, can you teach me how to order? Let's say it were a vodka and coke. I says, yeah. I says, and Schulligansy. He says, I'm Schulligansy. I says, and say it to the barmaid and be really polite and say, was ist das Kastein Blasen? So he's gone, and Schulligansy. And you can see this last taking an interest in him because he's making effort. He goes, and Schulligansy, was ist das Kastein Blasen? And she's leant over and she's cracked him across the cheek and then walked off. He says, what'd she do that for? I says, you just asked her how much a blowjob is. And this kid and all his mates were laughing. They were But, so getting back to that drink with Ukrainians, and I went over, and so I ended up staying for a bit because I got them a few bottles of wine in. And they were just asking stuff about our country and theirs. And I say, listen, in our country, people make out all sorts. I says, we're very, very fortunate. I says, we're not as fortunate as what everyone else is, but we're just talking about different ways of life. And, the amount of places you go to where people have got nothing.
Yeah.
And they're smiling. Look at us in this country. We've got just about everything, and there's some right miserable gets about, isn't there?
There are, yeah. And then that brings us on to another story that I know you've got. Was it Azerbaijan or something where you took a load of cloves over there?
Oh, yeah.
So, we're going from one story where you had no cloves to a story where you got bucket loads of cloves. Go on, tell us that one.
Yeah, well, as you age, anyway, I ended up with a couple of suitcases full of clothes, and I thought, I'm never going to wear them again. We're going to Azerbaijan, not very rich, but even though Baku is, because it's like oil and all. So me and my mate Dilly went over. So we've got to airport, got there, we've got in. When we got booked into the hotel, they helped us up to rooms with bags, and this lass, I said, excuse me, I says, you married? And all, she says, yeah. I says, how big's your husband, sort of thing? She goes, about same. I says, yeah, coming into the room. And she looked a bit weird. So I opened the suitcase up, and they were all like designer clothes and all in good nick. I says, will they fit your husband? She says, really? We have no money. I says, I don't want any money, love. I says, it just saves them going to waste. So anyway, like I say, so she took them and they were just so grateful. Well, during week, all our floor, there were about a dozen rooms got broken into, and ours weren't even touched. And we even found it was a Carlsberg bar, and I think it was owned by an English kid from Rotherham, who'd moved out there like years before, like probably due to oil. And we give his bar staff, some jeans and all that. He says she'll run you home and all that, mate. So she used to take us home. But Azerbaijan, yeah, well, in fact, I think Dilly reminded me. I don't think I had anything to eat at all. I might have had one sandwich, and we were there for like 3-4 days. I was just on Jack Daniels. I'd just get giddy and excited. I'm like a big kid, mate, honestly. So anyway, day at game, you're walking around, you're like shorts, T-shirts, flip-flops and all that. Well, I tell you what, it must have dropped about 25 degrees. It were absolutely freezing.
Was it?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, this bloke, he had a designer shop there, Lacoste. I've still got the jacket now, and it's still in good nick. So I've got it just packed. Everybody went in buying stuff. So I got a jacket and some jeans, about 300 quid, and that were just off me. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, it went in. Again, I think it were 1-0 Michael Owen. It were dour. It were terrible. So I've come out at ground, and I've gone over to, like I say, because obviously we're in different parts of ground, you get split up and that.
Yeah.
So I've gone up to these places, I've gone, excuse me, mate. I says, please, can you tell me where I can get a taxi? No taxis, English. Straight away, you switch on, you think, yeah, all right, I don't want none of this. You could tell with attitude. So I start walking off, and I can liken it most to like a scene from The Exorcist. You know where the picture is of the priest under the streetlight with his suitcase when he's going to... Yeah, I just got to a street lamp like there, and this cop car pulled up next to me. English, get in. Oh. You're all right, mate. I'm pretty sober now. I think I'm going to have a jog. I'm going to tab it home, mate. English, get in. So I'm like, oh. So anyway, I've got it, made sure I got it back. Told it name a hotel. It's taking me down all these dark streets and all that. And when you think, you hear about it, this is it, mate. Go anyway. At least I've done it. I've got it in England game. Anyway, before you knew it, pulled up outside hotel. It went 40,000 money, which were about 8 quid. I says, I'm sorry, mate. I've only got 50,000. You'll have to have that. I was just so grateful to get back. So I gave 50,000. Thanks a lot, mate. No problem. You know what I mean? Straight back to hotel.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm in hotel. I'm waiting for my mate to turn up. And this other police officer comes over, he was dressed police uniform, and he were a big lad. You English? Yes, mate. And he were lovely. He were great. He were talking to me and all that. And he was saying, what do you do back in England? I says, I'm a rigger, I work for telecommunications. Oh, yeah. And he's going on, he's saying, no, I'm a police officer and our pay is poor. And after a couple of minutes, you know where it's going. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you. You give him a few quid, like just to get them out your hair, even though I ain't got none. So anyway, I'm talking to him. We've been talking for about 10, 15 minutes. So I've got some money out to give him a couple of quid, to help him and his family out and put them through university. And he says, he just stands up and starts shouting at me. Why are you offering me money? Why are you giving me money? I don't need your money. I'm like, what? What's up with you, pal? Next thing, 4 men, in the long black leather coats that you see in all these old Russian spy movies. 2 of them come with me English. So they took me over to a corner. 2 have gone with him. And he went, why were you giving that police officer money? And I went, I weren't, mate. I says, he says, why would you get money out to give to him? I says, actually, because you have to think on your feet. I says, I've actually really enjoyed this country so much. And we'll go home tomorrow, but I want to carry on drinking. So I was asking him where I could exchange my pound sterling for your money and all that. He went, good story, English. He says, but we will get him. He does this with everybody. We will not get him this time, but we will get him. So they're obviously on his case, knowing what he's doing. Yeah. And just as I were going, he went, by the way, English, if you would like to carry on drinking in our glorious country, you can exchange your sterling at the bar, at the reception. I went, thanks, mate. Cheers. Just another little one.
Oh, well, some great stories of just following England. As they say, it's not always about the football. It's about making the memories, meeting people, be them fellow England fans or just locals in your host country. That's what makes an England away trip, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, to be honest, we enjoy going. We've got one at Lads. He has been going like since they began. Martin from Cheltenham, and he's seen some fantastic sights. I think he were in Mexico in 70.
Really?
So he's a great lad. Yeah, we call him Martin from Cheltenham. But another one I'd like to talk about it's about a lass called Debbie Tunnicliffe. And some at lads will know that will be listening to this. She's from Stockport. Well, I'd never met her, and she were mates with a good mate of mine, Mickey Jora. And anyway, so booking a trip, it were Estonia. Anyway, she said to me, she says, or Mickey says, Debbie booked him on. Well, I'd never met Debbie, and she says, he says, will you book me mate on Bisto? Well, this is a lass who I'd never met, and she forked out about 450 quid for me and never met me. That's the sort of friendships that you build. So she's booked us on and all that. So we've got to airport. Never met me, so I've given money. I said, thanks for that, Debbie. She goes, oh, not a problem. She goes, if you're a mate of Mickey's, like say you're a mate of mine. And we ended up in Lithuania. Me and Mickey took about 50 quid's worth of Lithuanian money. Oh, yeah. So we're pulling up. We're done all borders. Guard comes over for passports. I said, excuse me, mate. Is there any chance of having a stamping passport? No. Comes back with passports, checks them all out. Mickey passed him his, and there was some money in it. Yeah, sorry, mate, I forgot to stamp your passports. Because it probably gave him 20 quid, in Lithuania, which is, it were a lot of money to these people. So he's took them all back and he stamped up passports for us. And we've ended up in this bar, and it were like somebody's front room. They're all characters in there. This bloke, they all looked about 200 years old. But they were so friendly, and it was like a film. When we've walked in, everything just stopped and everybody's staring at you. When you've seen it on these films, like you walk into a wrong place. We had a great, great time there. We knew we probably wouldn't go back to Lithuania again, like say, whenever, all that. So me and Mickey had about 50, 60 quid between us because you couldn't spend your money. And we just give it to the barmaid and we says, look, just save all these people till that's gone. She goes, oh, that'll last about 3 or 4 weeks then. So, it's just them experiences that you have, in other countries, other places, Yeah.
No, that's what it is all about. That's what following England is all about. And it's
Yes.
something that we've all missed over this last, 18 months?
Yeah.
And something that we're all just itching and looking forward to getting back into that same old routine again come the, hopefully the back end of the year. If not, then early next year. And it's good to hear these sort of stories and whet our appetite again.
Yeah, he's I always look back on him with fondness, and the amount of people I've met, and good lads from other clubs and everything. There's some fantastic people out there. Yeah. Fantastic. If I could just chuck one in, like, before I go.
Go on.
I went to watch Donny. I think we might have been at Leicester or something, or wherever. Well, anyway, coming back, obviously you've got all youngsters on coach, and then another coach pulls past them, and it was Leeds coach, wasn't it? So they're all like, young lads are all like, shouting like, bravado and all that. Anyway, we ended up pulling off at same services and all that. And there were me and another older kid, and I was talking to one of the older blokes on Leeds coach and all that, saying, yeah, remember them days when we were young. Anyway, this kid, he'd only been a youngster, about 19, 20. He sort of come over and he was talking, and he went, do you follow England, mate? I went, yeah. He says, is your name Bisto? I went, yeah. He says, I said, what? Sorry, I don't remember. He says, no. I says, hope I haven't done it wrong. He says, no. He says, I was out in Brussels, for Euros in 2000. And he says, we were in this square, where they'd had all that trouble with me and my mate Liquid. We turned up afterwards. I've just found this beer cart at middle of the square. So I just starts going round dishing all this beer out while all commotion's going off and all that. He says, you give me my dad and me mates like a load of beer. And when I says, how much is it? He went, no, the free, mate. I've just found this beer cart over there. It's not mine. So, it's a small world as well.
Yeah.
It's a small world. That's why it's always good to be good.
Absolutely. Bisto, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate that. And I reckon a lot of people will recognise you. And I'm almost ashamed to say that I haven't met you now, and I feel the need to. We need to meet up, and we can share another story over a pint.
I'd love to. Can I just chuck another one in before I go?
Go on.
Right. Well, you'll have met him. Do you know Stan from Luton? He always dresses up as St. George.
Yes.
Yeah.
I read his book.
Yeah. Well, I'm in his book.
Oh, yeah.
The stories in his book. It were in Bulgaria. So, again, we're all having a great time and all that. So, Stan's there, St. George is looking the business like he does with all Luton lads. And these two beautiful women come up to him, and says, can I have a photograph took? And anyway, so they've took one. I says, excuse me, ladies. I says, do you want me to take a photograph of both of you with him? So he says, yeah, on both phones. So I says, right, press them buttons. So they're there cuddling, and they're all giving him a peck on cheek. And I just legged it with the phones. Went about 200 yards and all that. And they were like, huh? And then I run back with him and went, no, I'm only joking. I made us all, we're going to run off with the phones and stand. And they were in bits at first. But then they were just laughing when I came back with the phones.
Putting smiles on faces.
Yeah, that's what I liked. I mean, someone says I were on YouTube because I had a football and I was stood on top of this monument. I were bouncing ball as though we're going to kick it into the crowd and everyone's... Then I put ball down and I took my T-shirt off. And then I did it again. And then I took a shoe off. And then another shoe. And then a sock. And then a sock. And I just seen somebody out of the corner of my eye. So as I'm bouncing, he was going to slide in and take the ball, but I just didn't bounce it. And he went sliding past. And I didn't strip off totally naked. But someone says that there's a clip of that on YouTube. Like England fan with ball in Bulgaria.
I'm going to have to dig it out.
Yeah. Honestly, mate, I've met some tremendous characters, absolute tremendous characters that you'd have never been afforded opportunity if you hadn't been following England. I'm just grateful for everything I've had.
Oh, thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much to Bisto. I look forward to meeting up with him for a pint and a chat at some point. Hopefully, I'll have some more conversations with other England fans going forward. And if you've got some stories to tell, why not drop me a line? Email is good. threelionspodcast@gmail.com, or on all the usual social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. Always great to hear from you. As I said at the beginning, you can find all previous episodes at 3lionspodcast.com or your usual podcast provider, like Spotify, iTunes. It's also on YouTube. If you are tuned in on iTunes, why not drop it a review? One of those, they always go down well. Or equally as good, if you know someone else who may enjoy it, why not let them know? I'll be back very soon with another episode. Hopefully, speaking Block 109 beer. I hope you can join me for it. Cheers.